Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today we're going to do Brick Nottingham's 5th facade building to fill this gap next to facade number 4. Now for my 5th facade, I'm actually going to draw very heavily on the Town Hall building, set 10224 from 2012. Now the reason for this is that I made this facade quite a while back. In fact, it was the first facade I ever made, and I really liked the Town Hall set, but I thought it was out of my reach price wise because it had already been discontinued and second-hand ones were selling for quite a hefty price on both Bricklink and eBay. So as a result of realizing I was never going to get this set and knowing that not many of the pieces are that rare, mainly things like the clock, for example, which are difficult to get hold of, and this top spire piece and so on. So I thought I could recreate 9/10 of it using bricks just sourced from other means. And with that in mind, I decided to build a facade that would look like this and therefore not require me to get it. Now, as it turned out, a few months after doing this and after completing it, I've stumbled across a Town Hall set that was going for a very reasonable price. It had originally been parted out by a Bricklink seller, and that Bricklink seller had sold their store and it had been re-put together by the new Bricklink store owner. So as a result, I managed to get it for quite a decent price because it was missing its box but did have instructions and all the right pieces, and it was still brand new. So long story short, I have now obviously got a Town Hall building, but I've also got the facade of a Town Hall building with many modifications. You can see for a start, it's only 2 bricks thick for the majority of it. But yeah, I've got 2 buildings that look very similar indeed. So I suggest we look at this in a slightly more convenient setting. So here is the facade against the wall, and you can see it looks very imposing, very good. It's only 2 bricks deep, which is a very good thing because it needs to be comfortably behind the railway line that runs along this edge of the city as well. Now, as I've said, it's virtually the same as the Town Hall building. There are a few changes. Once I got the Town Hall itself, obviously didn't want 2 buildings with exactly the same date. So the Town Hall is 1891 and I've just changed this to 1910 using exactly the same technique, but just so it was obviously built later and perhaps was copying the style of the original Town Hall building. Another big change is obviously the ground floor. We don't have the 2 large pillars and the doorway, and we've just got 5 identical windows. The original has 1 on each end. Just to make it a little bit different, I've also changed the flower colour to this lovely sort of medium blue, which I quite like, so that's a good contrast with the orange. And then we've got less light grey in between what would be the modular floors, because they were the actual floors for the building and the tile there, so you can separate it as all modulars do. So I didn't need to replicate that. I also didn't have the depth to be able to replicate the clock tower, which after all was one of the most expensive parts to do anyway. So I've just added a little more embellishment on the top here in the style of the original. Another subtle change is that this entire top section with the date in and all the light bluish grey is actually set forward 1 stud. So it actually overhangs the upper floor windows and this window here. And I think that's just a little improvement, to be honest, because the original, if you look at it, is really quite flat in this section, and I think it just adds a little more detail, and it also pulls this top bit slightly away from the wall, so it does look like the edge of a building rather than just a lump. Good. So that is the basis for this building. So what should this building be? Well, it's rather grand, isn't it? So I thought it should be a hotel. And why not have a hotel in that corner of the room, because it's near one of the stations. It's also near the touristy district of the castle, the mill, and the bus tours and pub and so on. So why not make it a hotel? And another set that I was never going to get my hands on due to cost was the Cafe Corner set 10182, which was, if not the first and the second modular ever. And that's really quite ridiculously expensive to buy. But one of the main features that I really like about that set was its hotel sign. And I thought, well, if I'm going to be doing something that's inspired by sets I can't afford, then maybe I should replicate that hotel sign. So I want this on this side of the building. So I've actually had to mirror it. Now, doing this hotel sign is not as easy as you might think, because flipping it over, quite simply, gives you mirror writing, and then you've got the E and the L the wrong way around. Obviously the H and the O and the T are fine, hot, wonderful, but the E and the L aren't. So we have to flip the whole sign in order to have the letters correct. Now, on the original build setup, because you need to have plates on one side and tiles on the other, but the tiles are on this side on the original, and that fits well with the fact that in order to do this L, you need to have a stud showing on that side. So you just stick a plate on top of that and a tile on top of that and you'd be done. But when I flip this, I want to have this side being the tiled side, and therefore that one has to be the plate side, and therefore that stud actually gets in the way of either a tile facing that way into it, or a plate that's also got a stud, so it's stud on stud, and that doesn't work at all. So I've had to do a bit of a workaround where basically we flip from one system of plates for the top bit onto tiles facing that way as opposed to that way for the bottom. And it does mean it's a little bit insecure, but quite frankly, it's not going to be in a high traffic area, so to speak, and it's important that the sign is on the left of my building as we look at it, and it's important that it's not in mirror writing as well. Now, given this is a hotel, the last thing I want to do is add a guest, because we've got a balcony, and who would have the expensive balcony suite? Well, a tourist. And this is an American tourist, which is the Season 8 Cowgirl series minifigure. She's lost her lasso, thankfully. And I can put her in the balcony waving at the trains. Right, so I'm probably going to regret trying to attach this on camera, but it's just attached using two of these modified plates with the fork, and the bit with the other side is already on the side of the building. So get those both vertical, and then we can just clip this on. Well, that was a bit more seamless than I was thinking it'd be. So that is how it'll look, but in the corner of the room. Excellent. Now, before I put it in position, I'm also going to have a large tree in between the facade number 4 and this facade number 5. So I'm going to keep it here where I can reach it more easily, so I can sort of see exactly what will fit next to it. So I'm going to sort of experiment here. So this is my little setup to design my tree. I've got facade number 5 just standing here where I can reach it, and this pile of bricks represents facade number 4, and I've got a 10 stud gap in the middle, and whatever tree I do has to clear a cargo train. So this is my start of a 10. It's just a simple stack of 2x2 round bricks with the plate with the 4 arms on to hold some branches. I know it's very regular and a bit boring at the moment, but we'll just use that as a starter, and it won't fit for one, but I'll just try and hold it there. Yep, so it's fine for height, but the branches are hitting both buildings, so that's not going to work. So I'll put on some smaller branches on the sides, I think, and maybe angle them a bit better and see if that works. Okay, so rather than put small branches on, I've just done it so I've got each of the middle ones kind of overlapping the two outer ones, and I've got nothing on the strip on the back. So that means it's very sort of one-sided if we look at it top on, and I don't think that will detract from the view because it'll look like it's solid from the front with other limbs going off into the wall. So that now fits very well, in fact. And then for the top layer I thought I'd use just some of the small tree limbs, just so it's getting even thinner at the top. And then on the very top I've got a modified round tile with a 1x1 cone and one last large piece. Hopefully that will cap it off well. There. Yeah, I think that looks good. It might benefit from a little little reduction of gap in between this small layer and that layer. I'm not sure, it sort of looks a bit gappy, doesn't it? I might use some plates there instead of bricks. Right, I've got some plates, so if I pull the whole thing off. Take out one brick and then probably put in, I don't know, probably just one plate. How does that look? I think that looks a bit better, doesn't it? Yeah, let's try that. Hey, I think that's it. Now I just had a thought. Maybe this would be a great opportunity to use one of the two small white birds I got in a recent brick haul from one of the Aladdin sets, is it? I really want this to be conspicuous, so if it doesn't show up very well against the wall, then I don't think I want to use it there. Yeah, I'm not sure. I might look at that when I'm placing it and see if that looks good. If not, I think I'll save it for somewhere else. Maybe it'd look better further down. It does show up more in the green. Yeah, I quite like that. I'm going to try that in the final position. Just check the train. Yeah, we've got good clearance there, so that's got a good amount of tolerance. I like that, because it's going to be slightly higher when it's on ballast. Good, right, let's get all this in position. Now, since I was crawling all over tables to get these in place anyway, I thought I'd pull facade number 4 back out to experiment with a suggestion I received from a subscriber, which was to add curtains or drapes to these two windows. So I've pulled off the vertical Art Deco detailing and I've been experimenting. Now it just so happens, out of bits that I don't need, I've got a dark blue and a white angled piece. So the white curtain in the top floor could be a 4x2 tile and one of these. And the bottom one could be one of these and two of the 1x2 plates with only 2 studs on. And essentially, if I take off some of the backing of the original setup and make it like this instead. So we've just got some pieces on the back of it. Looks a bit odd at first, but then if we put this onto the model, we can see a dark blue curtain and a white curtain. The dark blue curtain is quite hard to see, but when it's against the wall, it's quite visible indeed. So I think that was a pretty fantastic suggestion. Thanks very much for that. Right, let's get all these buildings in place. And there we have it all in position. Wow, I think that looks really good. The hotel with its sign right next to the regional station. I've also put a couple of bushes there just to fill in the tiny gap between the two. Then we've got this tree, a bit straight and narrow, but it kind of has to be for the train to fit under it. And I really do like that bird in the branches now. It really does stand out against the green foliage, so I'm keeping that. And then we've got Facade 4 before the castle, and I can see both of the curtains quite clearly, so I really like that. Thanks very much for the suggestion. Do give me more suggestions if you think of them. Right, while we're here, I better check the train. Ooh, only just. But it fits. Okay, so going to wobbly handheld. You can see it in the corner there. It's creating a really sort of seamless, fully built up corner there at the moment. Very good. Obviously that's the fifth one of my facade buildings. So the first one was the building site, which sort of behind where the tram is parked at the moment. So you can see that there with Emmett having spilt the paint down the scaffolding. Then we did RE's Village Deli, which is the red and grey building. And then the skyscraper with President Business on the top. That's 1, 2, 3. 4 was the Art Deco building, now with added curtains. Very nice indeed. And number 5, the hotel that looks suspiciously similar to the town hall. We're getting quite a built up area. I do think I'm going to add 2 buildings sort of behind the bus, or 1 long building. So that'll be a complete sort of row in front of the train tracks as well as behind it. Haven't decided what I'm going to do there. But as for filling in the city so it looks fully built up, I think we're doing pretty well. Tell me what you think. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, I think I'm going to go back to Major Oak Hill, or the area in front of it, right near the river, and do some fast food outlets and a sort of green area with park benches. So do remember to tune in. See you then!